All right, good morning. Maybe quick thumbs up if you could hear me. We're doing a slightly new experience today within this Teams call. So hopefully everyone can still hear me. Excellent. All right, welcome everybody to today's Power Platform Partner Community Call, aka Tech Talks. My name is Kelly Piper. On behalf of Microsoft, I'm excited to bring you this weekly technical call series where Microsoft engineering members and products needs bring you the latest and greatest on all things Power Platform. That, of course, includes Power Apps, Power Automate, Power Pages, and Microsoft Copilot Studio. If you are a regular to this call or new, you may notice a slightly different experience today. Your email name, your names, your email addresses have been hidden to other attendees, and you won't have the ability to come off of mute to ask questions. But good news, you could still ask questions anytime in the chat window, and we'll be sure to address those. You're probably asking why we made these changes, and the reason is we want to be able to publish these videos and recordings to a broader category of locations outside of the Partner Hub. So moving forward, we'll be posting these to Microsoft Learn, as well as our YouTube channel. So there's some new features that we had to put in place to enable that. So all that being said, let us know what you think about the new experience. Again, still feel free to put questions, comments in the chat window. We'll address those. And you could always still find the recording on the Microsoft partner portal, which we have an AK link, and we'll put that in the window so you can find it. And once these are up on YouTube and Learn, we'll also share those links with you as well. So with that out of the way, please welcome Nagesh B., Senior Product Manager for Power Pages, presenting Server Logic and Power Pages, and Alicia D., Partner Enablement Program Manager from the Partner Success Team, presenting an overview on in-a-day workshops, recent updates, and Train the Trainer events. Nagesh, Alicia, thank you so much for joining us. And whenever you are ready, please go ahead and take over.
I guess Alicia will go first and then I will take over.
Sure thing. Thanks so much for having me on today. And it's always a pleasure to connect with this group. It's been a couple of months since my last appearance here on Tech Talks. And I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen here. Again, if everybody can give me a thumbs up once you can see it, and then I can get started. Thank you all so much for having me here, and I'm excited to share some updates about the In-A-Day program. As Kelly mentioned, my name is Alicia Dranitsaris, and I am the In-A-Day program lead for the Power Platform, and I sit on a partner success team in the CAPE organization with here at Microsoft. So to get us started, I will always love to kind of start with a quick poll just to get a little bit of a feel of who is with us here today. I'm going to drop the link to it in the chat, or you can scan with your QR code on your mobile, and it's very short, just 2 quick questions. And that is, if you are already engaged in the program, or if you are familiar with the content and are using it for one-to-one trainings. So I'll jump to our live poll here, and I'll put the QR code again on the screen in case anyone still needs that. But just a quick 2-question poll here, and then we can get to know you a little bit better. So number 1, let's see how questions are coming in. It looks like a good majority of you here today have not yet delivered any in-a-day events through the program. So I'm, again, really thrilled to have this opportunity to connect with you. I think it's a great community to be a part of, and I'll share more about our in-a-day partner community, the partner opportunity, and some updates to the program and free upskilling or training opportunities for you as Microsoft partners that are related to the in-a-day program. And similarly, majority of those who are leveraging the content. So I'm seeing a pattern here, which is really helpful for me to better understand how we can better socialize the partner opportunity. And I think today's a great start. So just to jump ahead, I am going to wait for my screen to respond, just to bear with me. Here we are. All right. So to start, let's give an overview of what is the In a Day program. Now, they are one-day hands-on workshops for customers that are led by you as a Microsoft partner, with the goal of these events being to excite customers about the breadth of capabilities of a product, really serving as an introduction to teach them new skills and equip them to begin using or better use the product, and truly allowing them to become advocates within their organization to influence adoption. Now, these are full one-day hands-on workshops. So through this time that you get to spend with this group of customers, the program offers a fantastic lead generation opportunity and is really a platform for you to showcase your expertise, all the while connecting with new customers, building trust as that subject matter expert, and being able to really leverage this as an opportunity for you to connect with some new customers and generate leads. Now, last year, we trained more than 95,000 individuals through this program. So it just shows through that number how broad and how big of a scale motion this is. And it's only growing with so many exciting new product changes and advancements. So we're absolutely seeing demand for these events grow and the interest for these workshops also taking off from customers. And again, just wanted to provide an overview for today's session. If you do have questions, feel welcome to drop them in the chat, or you can reach out to myself directly, but I'll also provide some contact information for our team so you can get in touch and learn more about the program and how you may be a fit for that opportunity. But in terms of what we provide partners for this program, Microsoft is developing and maintaining the in-a-day content for these events. So you can kind of think of it as an event in a box, which includes the presenter deck, demo scripts, step-by-step guides, and Microsoft is also responsible as well for keeping the content regularly updated to stay aligned with the ever-evolving product updates, especially at this time of year. For your event, we also create a co-branded registration page, like the example shown here for our Agent in a Day workshops. And the events, once published, is visible on the Microsoft Events catalog, where Microsoft as well is driving demand for these events through large-scale marketing, targeting active users in product. And I'll pause there for a second to say that this is one of the biggest benefits of the program, as the demand generation is connecting you as a Microsoft partner with customers whom you may not have ever reached otherwise. We're connecting with customers who are already interested in the product. They're interested in using the product. They're interested in upskilling. Maybe there's a certain project they're working towards, and don't know where to start or are looking to connect with a subject matter expert to support them on their journey. Once the registration process kicks off with your event publishing, you as the partner delivering the workshop manages that customer experience end to end. So we actually provide you access to a portal to manage registrations, with all registrations beginning on a wait list. And you, as the event delivery partner, are provided access to view the registrant data and to manage those registrations and customer experience end to end. So it's truly a co-branded activity. And last but not least, we provide partners with a playbook, including a number of best practices that we have learned from our partner community that have proven to maximize ROI from these events. And every step of the way, you have support from our incredible XIAD partner program managers who support you from your initial onboarding and engagement to event delivery, to future event planning, to support your challenges, answer questions, and most importantly, celebrate and showcase your successes from the program. I always wanted to share a little bit more of what may be unknown to some partners about the program. So I mentioned that we do have broad marketing of these events that really help us to scale these workshops globally. But to show here is just an example of new in-product messaging and tiles as an example within Copilot Studio that is promoting your events to end users. So we are meeting customers where they need support, through the help menu, through those learning resources in product, and directing them to register to your events. So this is just one of the ways, in addition to the email marketing campaigns, that we're driving demand and truly driving demand with users who are already interested in the product. The second thing that I didn't touch on yet within the program overview is the additional benefit of for partners being able to access demo tenants to support your delivery of these events. These are intended to support attendees who cannot use their own environment or sign up for a free trial. For those of you who may not be familiar with the MDX or formerly CDX platform, it is a platform that's available to partners to be able to spin up a demo tenant for certain trainings. And this is a specific stockpile of tenants that are exclusively available to Microsoft in a Day events program partners who are scheduled to deliver Agent in a Day, App in a Day, Automation in a Day, and Power Pages in a Day events. So again, this is something to look forward to that will better enable you to support attendees who you may not have been able to in past if you've done your own trainings, where they may be locked down by their admins to be able to use their own environment for a hands-on workshop or are unable to sign up for a free trial. Now, I know I already mentioned a few benefits during that overview, but truly, again, the program is providing you with a platform to showcase your expertise, highlighting your experiences, and by demonstrating your knowledge and capabilities, you are building trust in your ability to meet customers' needs, cementing your reputation and credibility truly as a trusted Microsoft partner. And again, these events are giving you the opportunity to engage directly with customers and getting to know what their needs are, how you can best support them post-event, and providing that high-level quality experience is not only improving the customer satisfaction through the event, but is really integral to building those connections that extend the life of your workshop and remain with those attendees once the day is done. And for customers, they are getting a high quality hands-on workshop that will help them understand, again, the capabilities and how these products can meet their needs or solve their business challenges. The biggest value is, of course, the introduction to a trusted and certified Microsoft partner, which is somewhat undervalued in their initial perception of what they'll be getting out of the workshop. When registering for these events, a lot of customers don't know what the value of that relationship really is or what it could be. So we definitely encourage partners to emphasize that value that they're building in the day with customers throughout their workshop. And now, yes, I'm here today to tell you all about it, but I think it's always great to hear from our partners themselves. And so I'm going to take a moment here to share a brand new partner testimonial video where you get to hear from some of our program partners.
We believe technology creates the biggest impact when people can use it with confidence.
We are very happy to be part of the In-A-Day program because we see a lot of great results and great benefits from it.
For us, these events are about much more than just teaching technology.
It's a strategic platform to scale, train, and build lasting relationships.
Microsoft's In-A-Day program lets us turn big ideas into working solutions fast. In one day, people go hands-on and leave with a blueprint they can use tomorrow.
A direct reach from education to real-world business solutions.
That's when the potential and capabilities really seem to click. One of the most rewarding parts is seeing that aha moment from attendees across so many different industries and backgrounds.
The immediate value of these aha moments is what makes these sessions so powerful.
For us, this is more than just training. It's about growing our business and creating opportunities together with Microsoft.
It's a great way to build visibility, showcase what we do best, and generate leads, which we can follow up with and support long term.
We truly see it as a growth opportunity for our customers, for our business, and for our partnership with Microsoft.
The in-a-day program is one of our top lead generators at PragmaticWorks.
For us, the impact's clear. Several new customer relationships, momentum in new regions, and a lot of workshops becoming projects.
It has helped us to improve the relationship with existing customers,
generate qualified leads, and expand our presence in key industries.
It's a game changer. We are proud to be a part of the Microsoft community.
Why are you waiting? Get on board.
We really do love working with so many partners across the world, and that project to put together that video was a special one. Now, just like to share a couple other kind of key facts about the program. We do conduct frequent pulse surveys in addition to different calls that we have with our existing partners. And it provides us some really great insights to better understand the success the program is driving for partners. So from last quarter, we learned that 58% of partners have acquired 1 to 5 new clients directly from the program, with 75% agreeing that they've been introduced to new customers through the program that otherwise they may not have been able to connect with. Additionally, which I think is a great thing to better understand, that 98% of participating partners agree that delivering these events has allowed their team to upskill, improving their ability to deliver events and also train customers, which we know is a big task and a big challenge as well for some of our partners. All right, and I heard Kelly already mentioned the Microsoft Power Platform Partner Hub, but I also like to highlight that we have published a number of partner success stories about customer connections and big business opportunities forged from the in-a-day program on the Partner Hub. So if you aren't already familiar with that, there are a ton of great resources there. So we'll share the link again in the chat for you all to be able to check out these case studies. Before we move ahead, one of my favorite quotes from our partner, SkyPoint Cloud, from their case study was that in over 30 years of being in the services business, they've never found a better lead gen engine than the in-a-day events program. Now, for those of you who do want to get started, you think it's a great opportunity and a good fit for your organization to participate in the program, we look at qualification criteria that's based on role-based certifications. This is the partner eligibility criteria, which of course you see differs for all offer types and has a couple of new additions there, like the new Copilot Studio Applied Skill as a requirement for delivering agent in a day events. If you are unsure if you're eligible to deliver, our team can help validate your eligibility or let you know if there is any gap, and we're happy to help you through that process. So please feel welcome to reach out. And a question we get a lot from partners is, how many events do I have to deliver to participate? There is no requirement in terms of frequency. We do have quarterly attainment metrics that allows us to measure the success of events for customers, partners, and that help us ensure the quality of event delivery remains high. And these metrics are outlined at the bottom there and are related to attendance, post-event survey completion, and of course, net satisfaction being greater than 160 out of 200. Now, I know from the majority from our poll, a lot of you are already leveraging this content, but I always like to call out again that this content is ever evolving. We are always making updates to the content to ensure that it stays aligned with product changes. So make sure that you do have these links that are bookmarked, and I know that this year we've already seen some major updates to the content here in these packs, but with Ignite next week, more will be coming. So please do ensure that when you are leveraging this content, whether it is through the program or for one-to-one trainings, you're downloading the most recent version. Each content pack contains an instructor change log that details what has been updated in the student content and what has been updated in the instructor content. So you can always see at a glance what has changed version over version. And the last on my agenda today is our Train the Trainer events. Now, these are happening every quarter across Americas and EMEA time zones. They are a opportunity for partners to get familiar with the in-a-day content, but also event delivery best practices. Now, these sessions are led by our content management partner, Pragmatic Works, who's delivered hundreds and dozens of Train the Trainer events. It is really a great opportunity to learn valuable tips, tricks, best practices, ask questions about their experience as a partner who has delivered hundreds of these workshops, and to really get hands-on with the content, just like a customer would through an in-a-day event where you get to complete the labs, get really familiar with the content, which we know is extremely important in preparing to deliver these sessions to customers. So that link, it will always be updated in the Power Platform community blog, where we are always announcing more sessions. So please bookmark that if there, of course, if is interest in attending these events. They are a full day, so make sure that you do block your calendar so that you attend the full session, but they are also recorded and made available to partners through our partner community. I'm going to share a number of links in the chat that I had mentioned throughout this presentation, most importantly being requesting an event to get started. This is a portal that is available to you as a partner to sign in, create a profile, and submit event requests based on what's scalable for your team. And if you have any questions, challenges, or concerns getting started, you can reach out to our team at xinadayevents@microsoft.com. So I will then pass it over to Nagesh to take us from here. Thank you all for having me today, and I look forward to connecting with you.
Amazing. Alicia, do you have time just for maybe one question? Either I can read it aloud, or if you want to just take a look at the chat and answer it there, whatever works best.
Yeah, absolutely. For the question from Joe, why is there a minimum 5 certifications per partner org requirement? So in order for us to kind of measure that there is a sufficient number of individuals who could support like a large scale deployment or a large scale project, that's kind of the threshold that we've put in place, is to say a minimum of 5 certifications for individuals within your organization who hold those role-based certifications, proving that they have that expertise. Now, with that said, we do make it broad in the sense we say minimum of 5 certifications per partner org. So as an example, for Agent in a Day, that spans across 3 different role-based certs. That isn't that there has to be 5 individuals with all 3 of those, just 5 active certifications across those 3 exams. So again, if you are uncertain of how that may apply to your own partner organization, we're happy to review that ad hoc for your organization, Joe, or for any other partners who may have questions around their eligibility.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Alicia. That helps a lot. And also take a look through later some of the comments. Ralph, a huge fan of this program, the Train the Trainer events, and the various other tools aligned with the in-a-day program. So thank you so much for joining us today, Alicia. We love hearing from you. And with that, I'm going to hand things over to Nagesh to talk about server logic and Power Pages.
Thanks, Kelly. Thanks, Alicia. Welcome, everyone. So I think next 30 minutes, 35 minutes, so we will, deep dive into the new brand new feature in the Power Pages, that is a server logic. We'll talk about the overview of this feature, what exactly this feature, and how the feature can be used, and how to the used in your scenarios. And along with it, I will go over a quick demo, as well as the feature walkthrough, how the demo is actually built in, so that you will get a brief understanding of the overall the features. Once again, thanks everyone. Welcome everyone. I'm Nagesh Bhatt. I'm a senior product manager in Power Pages. Also, along with me, the Suyash Kumar Patel joining me. He will be monitoring the chat. So please, type in all your questions in the chat window, and Suyash will be answering those. And of course, I will answer at the later if time permits. Okay. Now, what is server logic, right? So this is basically a brand new layer we are introducing in Power Pages. That is like till now you know about, like the Power Pages provides the low-code platform to build web applications, and it provides the client-side layer as well as, like the for any kind of a complex business logic or rules, you are, need to rely on like some alternate methods like either cloud flows or the data was plugins that is complex and all. So that is what like we are trying to solve, bringing in the new brand layer that is a server logic. So how exactly it works? This is basically the like we are offering a the JavaScript currently. That means like you can write your code in the JavaScript, and that is compliance with the ECMA 23 standards. And those code runs in the server that like the everything like run in server, securely run in the server, and it is not exposed anything outside on the client side. Any of your protected rules or like sensitive data, everything like you can store in the server. So it offers the security, and you can like with this you can extend all your customization or like the functionality or interacting with the external services and all. Now the whole layer is basically protected using the Power Pages authorization model. Any user who is having the intended security role, only those users can able to access the secure the server logic, and others cannot access that actually. So it is basically exposed as the REST endpoints. Of course, like I will be going through all this with a live demo as well. So it is just an overview, and it seamlessly work with the Dataverse with the end users permissions, and it is exposed as a REST API. So it is like it can be consumed on the client side. So basically, like of course, like when going over the overview, you might be like understand like why the server logic needs to be used in the Power Pages. So basically, first thing, it's enhance the overall security of your all the business logic or the code what you write, and it improves your integration scenarios. So seamlessly you can integrate with any external services or Dataverse or like any kind of the systems. And also like basically like the whole code is running under the Azure web application, that is the native Power Pages server, and it basically improves the performance instead of like writing somewhere and bringing that whole calculations and everything. So essentially it improves the performance, and also it provides the like the data governance and all, but it completely honors the Power Pages rules, security, and any kind of a governance you currently Power Pages is supporting. Just to give quick like walkthrough on how overall it works. Now, as in the overview section, as mentioned, like basically the logic exposed as an API. That API is basically protected in using the Power Pages web roles, security roles. So the APIs, that is basically essentially like when an end user on the site visitors who interact with the sites, you can like the events is getting triggered, or you can like bind that on the UI layer, and that essentially calls the logic APIs. That is the APIs. You can define all kind of like allowed HTTP methods, whether it's a get, post, put, patch, all those things. Now, when the API is called, that API essentially executes the logic in the server side. And the logic can be, like any kind of, like the core scripting you can write, and you can, if requires, your scenario requires the integrations, you can use that. We support the HTTP and the Dataverse currently, and in future we will, like work on exploring others connectors as well. And it is the request response mechanisms. And once the logic is executed, response is returned back on the client, and you can like consume that responses and perform all kind of logics. Now, this is quick overview. Now let us just go one step deep. How overall is getting first is authored in the sense, how, what is the way first to create the server logic and how you able to write the code. So basically we are introducing a new navigation item in the setup workspace that is called a server logic. Currently it is in preview, and you go ahead and add the APIs. The each line item in the server logic is represented as an API in the your API URI. Then you define the names and the permissions. What is the API path looks like? Then who is the intended user who allowed to invoke that APIs? Define the permissions. Then we offer the native VS Code integration. That is what Power Pages provides. So once the API URI is defined, then use the Visual Studio Code to write the code. So that provides IntelliSense and the compile time validations, all those things, all the the features of the Visual Studio can be used that, whether it's a Visual Studio Code or a Visual Studio Web. Now, since the whole code is running in the server, and of course, it does not allow all the JavaScript. That means you can only use the ECMA 23 standard. It will not provide you any access to the browser objects like the XML, HTTP, or window object, all those things. So in order to invoke or simplify the overall the coding, we introduced a server objects. Basically, these server objects help you complete all your scripting or the business logic. Use this server object in the script. You complete the coding. Once the the logic is authored in the Visual Studio Code, and save that code and publish. Basically, preview the code, not really publish here. So save the code and preview. Basically, that will you can launch the runtime or the browser, and that's how the overall authoring works here. Now, of course, there are a lot of best practices. Few of the best practices: first, secure the server logic. As and when you create the server logic or the APIs, make sure you provide apply the web roles, so that that will not be accidentally or anything, it is not misused. And for secrets and keys, since we offer integrations to external services and all those things, because that requires your secrets, keys, and all. So basically, server logic offers storing these keys in a Azure Key Vault, and those Azure Key Vault keys can be accessed via the environment database environment variable that is available to access in the server logic using the Power Pages site settings. So make sure that any of your secrets, keys, or sensitive data store in a Key Vault or any other mechanisms. Of course, make sure that you optimize the performance. Each APIs or the the request has a timeout limit. It is default is 2 minutes. So make sure that you optimize your logic. If requires, better to split into multiple APIs, just to make sure that all the codes is executed within the provided time limit. Of course, you can extend that up to 4 minutes, but it is better to stay with the default limit. And of course, we provide a monitor and log usage. Of course, I will in the latest slide, I will just talk through this. So we provide a dev tool or the the Edge add-on that use that add-on to monitoring your the usage, and basically emit the logs, and just to understand what is happening in the server side. Now I talk about the server objects and the API structure, how it happens. Now, when you define the server logic, the name is part of your server logic name. This is how the overall API structures. The website URL, then followed by underscore API / server logics. This is the standard path, and this is the server logic name. This is, you can define based on your scenarios. Now, on the server side, I mean while writing the JavaScript, these are all the the set of the server objects we expose. Use this server object to the build your logic. First, server.connector.dataverse. Basically, any kind of a dataverse interaction has to go via the dataverse connector, and same case with the HTTP client. So any external services, if you want to interact with the HTTP services, use the server.connector.http client. So essentially, we support all HTTP calls using this. Then, of course, few more, the server objects. These are all similar to the liquid objects. Most of the things, whatever available in the liquid object, those will be available in the server logic as well via the server object. Server.context. So basically, it provides you the context. Basically, context is the request context. What is the request body? What is the request header? And like a query string parameters. All those things access via the context object. And server.user. This is basically, who is the user access invoking these APIs from the client side. So by basically, authenticated user will have the contact record information, like contact full name, email address, all those information available as part of the object. If it is anonymous, then of course it will be null. And site settings, you can, for any configurations, all those things, or the environment specific, define the configuration values in the site settings and access via this object, server.site setting object. And logger, because essentially, this is essential part of any of the programming, right? You need to, emit the log, errors, warnings. So logger object provides. And this, anything you emit using the server.log, it is available in the dev tool, the Microsoft Edge browser add-on, and you can monitor all those control flow. Today, if you want to understand what is going wrong, what is the server.logger is the way, but of course, we are enhancing the debugging capabilities that we'll talk in the later slide. And server.website, this is basically provides you the information about the current website, on which website this logic is running, and all those information. These are all the dataverse record, website record, and the user record, all those things. Now the debugging part comes. Now the dev tool or a debugger tool, what we call, this is basically, this add-on is there for some times, but we are enhancing these add-ons consistently. Now this is the dev tool add-ons on the, currently it is available on the Edge browser, and of course we will release for the Chrome as well. But now you add the extension, dev tool extension, to the Edge browser, and then it is available in the developer tool workspace as a Power Pages add-on. But if you just enable that, it won't be available, because in order to prevent, it shouldn't be used on the production site and all. So it is behind the servers, the site settings. So essentially, you need to add this site settings, or if it is already added, set the site setting to true, so that then onwards, anything you logged in the server logic, that will be emitted. Of course, it is not just a server logic log, it is basically all logs, basically information, errors. If something is goes wrong or anything is errored out in the server side, those are all will be emitted on the dev tool. And also it provides you the performance related information. It provides you each the Power Pages web API queries, as well as the Dataverse API details, along with the performance metrics. So try using the debug tool, that provides you the more details. And of course, it provides the monitoring, performance, all those things. Okay, now unless anything you write, unless you put a breakpoint and like understand what is the control flow and what values are basically like passed, it is very hard to write any code. And especially, and server logic is running in the server side, there is no way you can do. So essentially we are like bringing a new capability to debug this server logic code, what is going running in the server, that itself you can like a debug on your desktop, or like a Visual Studio desktop. So this is the feature not available, and it will be like we are launching soon. So essentially what we are providing is, we are providing an extension or the in the Visual Studio desktop, and of course like it is available, will be available in the Visual Studio desktop. So essentially you can directly run the server logic code. So of course, you are authoring the code in the Visual Studio web or desktop, but in order to debug, you need to use the Visual Studio desktop and put a breakpoint, understand what is going on. And if you emit any server.logger, that will be available in your terminals. And that how, like completely you debug your code, make sure that everything is running perfectly fine, then save and publish. That will be available in the Power Pages and can be, like then it is part of your overall site website. Okay, this is like what and all we have today. It is the public preview feature. It is launched 3 weeks back, and this is a quick roadmap of like what and all capabilities we are adding and when is the general availability of this. So in near time, basically like in next 1 or 2 months, we will provide a way like support the server logic in the standard data model. Today it is available only for the enhanced data model. And of course, like I just talked through, you can debug your server logic code using the Visual Studio desktop, and also enhancing, like the simplifying overall authoring process. So we are offering a copilot to generate your code, and then, like go ahead and, like modify those codes using the GitHub terminals. This is the immediate feature enhancement, and kind of, like another 3 to 6 months, basically somewhere in the Q1 of FY26 or early Q2. So we will provide the unbound data custom APIs. Today we provide the bound custom APIs. Of course, there is a bug is there that is currently rolling out. Basically, like the Dataverse custom action has some problem that we are rolling out, but get works post this problem. And of course, like we are enhancing with the unbound as well. And also the other important part is like, like you may need to, like expose all the privilege for the server logic for the end users, but few of the operations you may need to perform using the elevated privileges. So basically we provide a way, like run the server logic in elevated privileges, so that, like it is not end user privilege. So you can, like access the tables, which is not really, like available for the end users. That way, like you can do any kind of secure interactions or the operations with the Dataverse. Then the other challenges today what we have is like, like the cache data. If any Dataverse data is updated outside, that is like outside the Power Pages ecosystem, then that data, the data is cached, and like there is a SLA of 3 to 5 minutes, or like to get the real data is get refreshed. So we will provide the ability to like pull the real-time data. That means like you will get like the exact data what is available in the Dataverse via the server logic. Of course, it is not all. It is basically, like, of course, like there is a perf impact will be there if you directly retrieve the data, but make sure that, like only the important records or the data set you should, like retrieve using this ability. And we are targeting, like the general availability sometime in the Q1 or early Q2. And in the next wave one, that is anytime between the April 26 to the October between, we will provide an invocation the server logic from the liquid object, so that the server logic will not surface anything on the client website, and we will provide, we are working on, exploring supporting the Power Platform connectors, but it is still in a very early stage. Of course, we will continuously monitor the feedback what community provides. If you have any suggestions or enhancement, please share those enhancement. We will review that. With that, I will just quickly show a quick demo of this Power Pages server logic, what capabilities it adds. Now, with that, let me just take on Pictures, the company Contoso. So basically, the Contoso is hosting a series of tech events through a Power Pages website. And Sven Mortensen, basically the end user or a site visitors, he visits the sites and he explores the different sessions and register for one of the events. And these events are chargeable. And the site is integrated with the PayPal for the payment process. So basically, Sven pays via the payment gateway, and once the payment is success, the record is stored in the Dataverse, the event registration record, and the ticket is generated and stored in the SharePoint. And that is basically, interact the SharePoint using the graph, and the user or the Sven can able to download the ticket as well. So essentially, how capabilities the server logic offers is one, the payment gateway. So today we offer the Stripe. Now we are not bound with any specific payment or anything. You can integrate any kind of service using the server logic. In this scenario, PayPal is integrated. Then the SharePoint is integrated via the graph client. And of course, adding a record in the Dataverse, all using the server logic. With this, let me just bring the my screen. I will show a live demo here. Okay, here is my editor. Let me just launch this. I think it's sessioned out. It is taking some time. So I'm just launching the website. That is the event registration website. It is just, I think this is a private site. So it is opening the login screen or authenticating. Let me just log on the screen as well. It is a little slow. I should have opened already. Okay, meanwhile, let me do one more thing. I will just duplicate this. Okay, it is launched. Fine, perfect. So Sven enters all these details. Basically, it's a pre-recorded data. So phone number, and also he chooses the one of the event. He chooses the startup which night, $75, and the date as the number 20. And the business logic, reviews whether the seats are available on number 20th for this selected event. Yes, it is available. Now using the PayPal, he clicks on the PayPal button and it redirects to the PayPal gateway for the payment. And instead of logging in, we'll pay with the credit or debit card. Of course, it is configured for the US. I will just switch to the United States and enter the credit card details. Of course, this is the sample credit card numbers. I'm using the Sandbox PayPal as for the demo, and the expiry date and the CVV. Any CVV I can enter for this sample, and other credit card billing address details. Let me choose Washington and the zip code. I will not save this information. I will just toggle off and pay now. Then continue. Okay. So payment is success. Now the registration is completed successfully, and also it provides the ticket to download. In this case, I can just click this download link, and currently I have configured the HTML ticket. Of course, like you can just create a PDF ticket and the user can download. And you might observe when I click this, basically this is, like downloading from a SharePoint. And I can register an event. That's fine. So essentially now I will just go in little details. So basically how overall things are happened. Now, first thing, this is the SharePoint site where, let me just refresh. The ticket is just generated during this thing. So basically it created the SharePoint and the tickets upload the tickets in the SharePoint. So basically this is establishing the SharePoint integration from the Power Pages. Next thing is on the data works. I'll just go to data workspace. Now this is stored in the registration, event registration table. Okay, just now the record is created. Basically the details of the selected event, the start with night, and also the ticket URLs is added here. So same ticket URL and all other details, whatever I entered. Yeah, all these details. Basically, you can, in fact, you're gonna add any details. The next thing I wanted to show is on the payment event logs. Let me just log in and bring the PayPal gateway. Yeah, here I'm just logging into the PayPal. It is a sandbox instance. And it is like I'm in IST time zone. It's currently 10:22. So the new API is invoked and it's a success. Okay, so basically several logic is able to communicate with the PayPal gateway, the payment gateway, SharePoint, and the database. Now we'll just see like the how overall this thing is implemented. First, let me just go to the page how the APIs are invoked. Then we'll quickly glance through like how it is authored. The Visual Studio web is launching. Let me just close this. Okay, these are all the standard HTML. I will not go over this, but where I was interested is the way how we are invoking the APIs. Now here is the one API, the server logics. This is the standard part, and I defined the capture PayPal order and the create PayPal order. So basically, like this is basically I hooked inside a PayPal SDK. So essentially, in order to perform complete payment integration. Next, once the payment is success, then I'm invoking another API, the event registration API. So this API basically essentially like generates the tickets and adds the entry in the database. So this is the way we are invoking the server logic, and it is a post. Of course, it is up to you how you want to define this post, get all those methods. This is from the client side. Now the actual piece where the server logic is defined. Here is the server logic new entry. Here I have defined the three APIs which we saw on the client side. What all the invoked? First is the create API invoked first. Let me just go to the Visual Studio ones. Okay. Now here the client ID, client secret, all are basically, like stored in basically client secret is stored in the Azure Key Vault. and client ID is in the environment variable, and both including the PayPal API URL I'm accessing via the site settings. And this is the standard logic I written. First, getting the access token of the PayPal. Then once the access token is received, then creating the PayPal order, passing this access token. This is all a standard code. So basically, we provide HTTP client object, server object. Using that HTTP client, you can call the post, get, patch, put, all our we support. Use this. And once the token is received, success token, then creating the order here. Creating the order, and once the order is generated, the order ID is returning back, and this order ID is passed to the capture PayPal from the client, and basically the completing the payment process. And finally, event registration. This is the part. Of course, this code I already published in the document. You can basically the SharePoint integration, only SharePoint integration, not the payment integration. So this is the way call the SharePoint via the graph. So in this case, what is happening? First, using the context server object, reading the body which is passed from the client as a request data, then getting the access token. This is basically a access token from the graph API, so graph client. App only token in this case, because we are not really passing the user token. It's a app only token. Get the access token, then based on the host name and the site path where this ticket needs to be created and stored, accessing this drive ID, site path, and then finally creating the ticket. In this case, we are creating the HTML ticket. Of course, you can write to create the PDF. Of course, you might need to use the Azure function as well, PDF, because I'm not sure whether the ECMA script supports all those things part, but yeah, you can do all those things. And finally, using the Dataverse or the Dataverse client, I'm creating the record here and returning the response. Okay, so in this case, I'm using almost all kind of server object, and I'm using the server.log, emitting the log, and also the other thing is it supports the returning the response back. Cool. I think we are on time, and I hope I am not monitoring the chat window. I will Suyash is answering all those things. And if you have any more questions, please put in the chat. I will answer in later as well. Or you can, drop a mail as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Nagesh and team. We appreciate this amazing presentation and overview. And thank you for the team for answering all the questions in the chat. I think most have already been addressed, but if there's a few more, please just take a few moments to put those in and we'll review those later and get a response out to you. Just a reminder, the next 2 weeks of Tech Talks will be canceled due to Ignite and the Thanksgiving holiday, but we have an amazing speaker, Scott Duro, on December 4th. So please be sure to join us. And the other thing that I put in as a reminder, Fast Track Recognized Solution Architect or FTRSA nominations or renewals are now open. So please be sure to check out that information, and a great opportunity to showcase all the amazing solution architects within your partner organizations. If you have any questions on that program, feel free to reach out to me. In the meantime, I hope everyone has a great few weeks ahead, and I will talk to you on the 4th. Again, Nagesh and team, thank you so much. And to our amazing partners, thank you for joining us. We'll talk soon. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks all. Bye-bye.